Three leading press freedom groups have launched a tribunal in The Hague to hold governments accountable for journalist deaths. A new report by UNESCO suggests a staggering 6 journalists have been killed worldwide every month in the last 5 years. And since 1992, 1,400 journalists have been killed, with 80% of perpetrators remaining out of jail. A combination of increasing extreme political polarization, advances in technology and social media bubbles were found to have led to a rise of the spread of hate speech, misogyny and the global rise of fake news. Well, we can speak now to Guy Berger, UNESCO's Director for Freedom of Expression and Media Development. Thanks very much for joining us on Euronews tonight. Despite those figures, your report says the number of journalists killed in the last 5 years has actually declined. But what's the full story here?
Well, the number has declined, but the impunity for those killed has remained as it is. In fact, over 10 years, still 9 out of 10 cases have not been resolved. In other words, there's no justice for those journalists who've been killed, or for their families, or for the societies who no longer have access to the stories they would have brought us.
Why are journalists being killed, and why are their killers often not being brought to justice?
Some of the journalists are killed in conflict situations, in war situations, and of course that is complicated to track down and prosecute, although journalists should be treated as civilians in a war situation. But increasingly we are seeing journalists killed in non-conflict situations, and they are being killed because they are reporting on wrongdoing or they are speaking truth to power. And so you have officials, you have mafia, you have mobs that are attacking journalists, and this is being often fomented by hostile rhetoric against the press.
And where you sometimes say there is a decline in journalists being killed, the number being put in prison is going up.
Exactly. In fact, there's a correlation that the number of countries with the highest killings have fewer journalists in prison, and countries where they're not being killed, more journalists are being put in jail. But another trend that we're seeing, which worsens this whole picture, is a massive increase of online attacks against journalists, especially women journalists. And guess what? There's impunity for those attacks as well. In this case, the social media companies are not taking the necessary action to protect journalists from mob attacks online.